Would you rather be a millionaire today or be a legend forever?
Oh,
That's what we're looking at here, really, right?
What's the most efficient path to victory against this particular opponent?
He's dropping off for the choke here. We could see the finish. It's looking tight. Tight at Delbra.
Hey guys, welcome to the Everyday Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kwan. Everyday Jiu-Jitsu Podcast is everything you need to know about Jiu-Jitsu. Today I have my buddy with me, Ben Dyson of Kuzushi Grappling. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. So, Ben, why don't you tell us who you are, your background in Jiu-Jitsu, all that stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a second degree black belt now, and Roy Dean. I competed for a good kind of 12 or 13 years. A couple of them I've kind of done most of the big shows. I managed to qualify for ADCC in 2019 by winning European trials. Since then, I've competed on Polaris, but since then I opened up my own gym a couple of years ago in downtown Vancouver, as you mentioned, Kuzushi Grappling. Yeah, so that's been my kind of main occupation recently. Haven't competed so much.
Awesome. And during your jiu-jitsu upbringing, I'm not sure exactly what stage of your career, but coming up to black belt, you had spent some time at Atos with Galvao. Is that true?
That is correct. Yeah, for about a 2-year period, I was like in and out of San Diego, like visa permitting. Yeah, training at Atos HQ. It was a great time. I was so lucky. I feel like it was like a really good time to be on the mats there, and they really like from kind of day one, really, they let me train with. I was just training with the best guys. So you had like Kainan, Lucas Barbosa, Keenan was still there. Mike Perez, Josh Hinger, those were all my regular rounds every day. So it really helped me. Maybe I thought that I would like get a whole new game from going there, but really it just kind of made the stuff I did already better and made me a bit tougher. I got a lot from going out there, and no, I had such a good time training there.
Nice. Were you a black belt at that time?
I just got my black belt. Like the week before I arrived in San Diego, I just got my black belt. That
nice. Were you doing primarily
so
gi or no gi training down there?
I was doing both, but I was obviously a lot more proficient in the no gi. I could kind of hang with, at least I'd still get my ass kicked quite a bit, especially in the first part, but I could hang a lot better without the gi. In the gi realm with those guys, I was against some of them. It was just impossible. I felt like just get destroyed.
Yeah, I imagine. Who was like your hardest rounds down there?
Lucas, yeah, probably, and obviously Galvao. When I did roll with Galvao, he's like super good. The person I trained with the most was probably two people I trained with the most was probably Josh Hinger and Jonathan Gracie. I probably did the most rounds with. In the gi, the hardest rounds were Gustavo Batista, Keenan, and Lucas. No gi for sure was, and obviously Kainan was coming up then as well, so him as well. Ronaldo Jr. was there. He was a problem everywhere as well, more so in the gi. But what you have with Atos and what you have in these big places, as I'm sure you're familiar with, is it's not just the brown and black belts. It's the young purple belts which are there, which kind of on the cusp of making it, but not everyone's heard their name yet. But they're causing everybody problems. Andy Murasaki was there as a purple belt, and he had one of the best guards I'd seen at that time. Like he would be a problem for everybody, gi and no gi. He caused a lot of the high level black belts there, a lot of problems, including myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the names you just rattled off it's crazy to think of like the talent pool that has come out of Atos Jiu-Jitsu, whether they're still with them or not. It's fucking incredible. What were they kind of doing down there in terms of their training that, were big takeaways for you now as a gym owner, as a coach? Some things that you think maybe could have like that has made a difference in their results in competition? Like, are they doing a lot of different stuff from what we're doing? What talk to me about some of the teaching methods.
So the main takeaways, so the main takeaways were always doing rounds, and they would split up the competitors from the kind of Gen Pop classes, but the competitors would still attend the Gen Pop classes and kind of get more relaxed rolls in, like maybe, like of mixed ability, but like being there to get the rounds in, maybe to experiment. But then they'd have the competition class each day, which was just pretty much 2 hours of just straight going at it. And in those rounds, Galvao would pretty much run every single comp class, and he would be there like at the sidelines, like coaching his guys all the time. Like he was there just like I'd say go away odd days for seminars and things like that, but he'd be right back. And the main takeaway with those comp classes I found was how they would vary the time limits, and they would vary the situations of which you would, so you do situationals, but maybe one day it would be, 30 seconds, a 30-second round, and then a new person comes in. And then maybe the next day would be, you start in a single leg, the round's 2 minutes, or the end goal was different. They're always changing the kind of the
constraints,
moving the goalposts. Exactly, yeah. And that was the main takeaway.
Generally, when you guys free rolled, would it be like 10-minute rounds? Like, what was the average when it's just time to do rounds free rolling? What kind of time limit? Yeah.
So in the regular classes, like the evening classes, it would be 5 or 6 minutes, as I'd say would pretty much be par for the rest of guys. But as I said, in the comp classes, it would vary every single class. Some days, and they would taper, so that each competition they would be leading up for, and everything would be geared towards that competition. So say for example Nogi Worlds, I did a couple of Nogi Worlds camps there, and like in the middle of the kind of like the camp, if you will, you're doing 10 rounds of 10 minutes. Okay, so it's like there's an awful lot of volume, like 10-minute rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe at the end you're doing, I don't know, they do like 30-minute-and-a-half rounds or something like that. Like it would just be like tapered, and they'd be thinking about it with regards to, treating it like you should, like a science, I guess, like by tapering the workload off as you get close to the tournament.
Mm-hmm. What about in terms of like showing techniques and drilling and things like that? Was there a lot of drilling? Was it more situational sparring? How did they kind of how did they lay out the structure of the class?
Okay, so again, it would differ very distinctly between the competition classes and the regular classes. I'd say the regular classes, the ones in the evening, the ones in the morning, where I don't know, you'd have like 80 people on the mat and a lot of them hobbyists, would be like a regular class. They still wouldn't do warm-ups, which I appreciated. You'd just jump straight into the Galvao, whoever was teaching the class would teach the technique, maybe 2 or 3 techniques, and then you'd get straight into sparring, which is kind of what I do in my regular classes as well. The competition classes would always differ. Like he would give you time for free practice, maybe you guys go sweep for sweep, just to warm up, or and then you get into drilling a specific position. Maybe it might be 1 technique in the competition class in the restaurant, or maybe you might show 3. It seemed like when I was there, like there was a lot of thought behind what it was they were doing, and that kind of gave me, that's exactly what I should be doing. I should be thinking about what I'm teaching my students. I shouldn't be just showing up to class and being like, oh, this is in my head, I'll teach this.
Mm. When you chose to go to Atos, what was your motivation to go there over, let's say, to go train with the Mendez brothers, or go to train with Cobrinha, or some of the other top gyms? What was the choice for Atos?
Atos just was. I don't know. I saw the people there. I always looked at Galvao as someone who's he's kind of similar weight to me. like someone whose style I'd love to be able to emulate. I saw the people on the mat, and as well, like I didn't know anybody there, and I was just happy just rocking up. And to be honest, even in San Diego and all around, wherever I've traveled, I've been into multiple gyms. And that gym was the first gym I went into where I was like, wow, like everybody here, especially in the comp class, everybody here is good. You know, everyone. There's no restaurants, there's no like, and they taking it very seriously. And, you know, I appreciate that. And at that time in my jiu-jitsu kind of career, is exactly what I needed and what I was looking for. I was at that stage where I was kind of beating everybody in my country and like doing well and like in European tournaments, but then when push came to shove in larger international tournaments at any majors, I would lose. So I just knew that I had to kind of go and get to a place like that and get the rounds in with those people.
Mm-hmm. Any interesting or funny training stories that come to mind just off the top of your head? Anything that happened to you down there that, you know, is worth sharing on the show?
I mean, yeah, a few. I mean, I got a pretty nasty eye poke one time that kind of ruled me out for a long. But in terms of like training stories as well, you know, I would feel, you know how it is with training and stuff like that on the mat. You feel a bit uncomfortable sharing it, especially if it's a detriment to somebody else. Exactly right. You know what I'm saying, Matt.
Oh, for sure. All right, that's great stuff, Benny. Let's talk about what's happening right now in jiu-jitsu. Like, this was kind of like the bulk of the episode. I wanted to talk to you because you won ADCC European trials. You've been to the big show and competed at ADCC before. You're definitely one of the most legit guys, you know, in Vancouver and you know, here in the city with me. I wanted your opinion on what's happening with this Craig Jones Invitational versus ADCC, because I think it's timely and I think it's a good topic to talk about. I did a poll on Instagram about, you know, do you think this is good for jiu-jitsu? Would you leave ADCC to go and compete at CJI if you were already qualified for ADCC? Questions like this. And the response that I got was majority, just overwhelmingly, yes, it's good for jiu-jitsu. And yes, I would leave to go and compete for Craig Jones's $1 million. So I'll just, if people are unaware, it is unfolding as we speak. I'll just give a background on this tournament. So Craig Jones, we all know him. He has declared that he's going to host a tournament called the CJI, the Craig Jones Invitational, and essentially it is rivaling ADCC, and it's got very spiteful undertones. Like he's putting it on the same day as ADCC Day 1. It's in Las Vegas with ADCC at the same time. It's at the Thomas Mack Center. And yeah, it's going to rival ADCC. And now we've seen athletes start to jump over from ADCC to CJI to compete at their tournament instead of ADCC. So like pretty much everyone from B team who is qualified for ADCC side. I haven't seen Krelliston commit yet, but I'm pretty sure he'll move over. But Nicky Ryan, Nicky Rod, Joseph Chen, all these guys are now moving over. We got the Tackett brothers there, Fionn Davies. I don't know if there's going to be female divisions. I don't know how that's going to work, or if it's going to be like even intergender, which would be very interesting. Craig Jones just announced on the Joe Rogan podcast that he's going to fight Gabby Garcia in a super fight, which they said they were already going to do, but they didn't. So, and the whole thing is, it's I believe all ticket sales will go towards charity, is what he's declared. And he's also said that, you know, this is meant to give athletes more money in jiu-jitsu. I think we all want that. There's not one person in jiu-jitsu that I know that doesn't want that. And basically, to show up, you're going to be paid $10,001 American, which is $1 more than you would get if you won ADCC. So, and if you win your division, I think there's going to be 2 or 3 divisions, you win $1 million, which is a crazy purse for jiu-jitsu. So it's just very, very interesting. It's all happening very, very fast right now. First of all, and they've also mentioned, I just found out they're going to put it in a pit style grappling surface, just like the Karate Combat. They're going to stream it for free on YouTube. And Craig even just, he's still unsure of what point system they're going to follow. But from what I've heard, it's going to be three 5-minute rounds, or perhaps 3 3-minute rounds. And they're going to follow the 10-8 must system or whatever from MMA. So what he was saying was, if you win your round, they're going to go like 10-8 or whatever. And then they're going to have open scoring, so you know what the score is going into the next round. He even mentioned on Joe Rogan that potentially if the round ends and you're in a submission, you're not saved by the bell. You might have to work your way out of the submission as the round ends. So like, we know basically about as much as them at this point. They're still hammering out these details. It's all very up in the air. So that's sort of just the groundwork information that we know right now about CJI. First of all, I just want to ask you, is CJI rivaling ADCC good or bad for jiu-jitsu?
Well, overall, I don't think you can look past the money going into it, and for the prize money, $1 million US is a life-changing amount, and just for that to be on the table, you couldn't ever say that was a bad thing for jiu-jitsu. For jiu-jitsu overall, that isn't totally, like, as I said, for somebody, as I'm sure we'll get into this with regards to where it leaves ADCC and obviously its prestige and everything like that. That's my main opinion. You can't, like, that amount of money going into, somebody's pocket after winning grappling matches. I mean, it's insane. It is insane. It's brilliant. Yeah.
It's more than, most MMA fighters would ever see as a fight purse. Certainly more than anyone in jiu-jitsu would ever see. Only the upper echelon guys can make $1 million. The Gordon Ryans and who knows, maybe even the Craig Joneses, just from his following, even though Craig has never won an ADCC. It's just an amount of money that you don't hear about very often in our sport. And for those who are wondering where the money's coming from, essentially Craig has a anonymous funder, somebody who he's not naming, who has said, yes, you can use this money. We will donate the proceeds to charity, and this could be a sustainable thing. He had mentioned he wants this to be a yearly thing where it could happen every year. So if it's success, apparently he said the anonymous donor is willing to just keep doing this, which I don't know if it's a sustainable business model. This person must have a shitload of money. They must be into some dark shit, honestly, to be able to do that, or just maybe just a really rich guy who is able, who loves jiu-jitsu, and he's willing to just essentially throw money away. It seems to me like a business model that isn't the most sustainable, but it is interesting. We can agree that anyone, especially an athlete, advocating for more money for athletes, we can agree that that's a good thing. But do you think it's a good thing for CJI to be on the same day as ADCC, the same weekend? Because everyone says, why wouldn't you just fucking do it the next week, right? And then that way you can still show that there's a place where athletes will get paid way more, but that way it doesn't affect the event of ADCC for everyone. Or do you think it's a more powerful message that it is on the same day?
Well, you got to look at from what Craig's trying to do and from where he is coming, which is clearly he's had beef with the fighter pay that the ADCC are offering, which is, admittedly, it's a little archaic. They're being paid the same as what they originally were, like even kind of, like, as far as I knew, that has always been the prize money since like 98.
So it should definitely be better prize money.
Yeah, we can all agree. We can all agree on that they maybe should have reviewed that, and I'm sure they didn't see this coming, which is what Craig is obviously going for. By putting it on the same day, it completely, and forcing athletes to choose between the two. Already, the fact that you've seen all these big names come over, you've seen, Nicky Rod, you've seen Joseph Chen, you've seen Attack Brothers, all of the, they're the people that people will be like buying tickets at ADCC. And I saw like some crazy stats, like with regards to the ticket resales and things like that. People are reselling tickets at ADCC for 10 grand a pair, which is the prize money. Like in an arena of like kind of, what is it, 18,000 at T-Mobile Arena? I mean, as well, one point I wanted to mention with this, imagine being an MMA fighter in the UFC and collecting 10 and 10 and seeing somebody making 4 grappling wins and winning $1 million.
Yes.
Like crazy.
Yeah. Do you think, let's talk about the fans for a sec. Now, I have a kid going to ADCC Worlds for kids, and I'm super excited for that. Yeah. So without him going, I wouldn't probably go. I'd probably watch ADCC from the comfort of my own home. But now that he's going, I'm going, right? Like I'm going to be there for him. Yeah. Plus, we're going to go watch the Worlds as well. So I'm pretty pumped on that. And as a fan, I'm like, fuck, like I want to be able to watch all the best guys, whether it's the Tackett brothers, Joseph Chen, like whoever it is. Like it's gonna suck that we're not gonna see like Nicky Ryan or Nicky Rod or whatever in that world championship, on that platform. They're just gonna be competing, in the same city, and you can stream it on YouTube or whatever, which I will have going as I'm watching the Worlds. I'm gonna have it free on YouTube. Is it good for the fans?
No. It's not. It's not good for the fans. It's not good for the fans because, as I said, all of these fans, like the whole point of ADCC is the fact that it's the elite. It's the top of the mountain. It's a thing that everybody wants to get to. And once you have success in ADCC, you kind of, nobody can doubt you. That's like your kind of legend established. And now that's just by putting it on the same day. If this tournament goes ahead and the gold medal winners, especially not necessarily from the 66 kg division, because they're not going to be, under 66 kilos, you're not going to think too many of them are going to move over to the under 80 bracket, you see. But definitely if you're looking at 77, whoever's winning that, it's not going to be like, there's a huge caveat now. Now, we were talking about the fans. And that definitely lets the fans down. That's like the fans go to ADCC to see the best and to find out who the best is under the most exciting grappling rule set, as we all can agree. And now, obviously, with it being on the same day, they're not going to be able to see who the best is, realistically, in my opinion.
So that's interesting that you said that. We're not going to be able to see who the best is. And one of the questions I had planned for you was, so does this mean that, because this whole thing is supposed to be for the athletes, right? But an athlete who wins ADCC Worlds this year, does that put an asterisk next to their victory as like, well, that was the year that that Joseph Chen wasn't in the division and Nicky Ryan wasn't in the division? And does it downplay or does it take away from an achievement of an ADCC champion this year because of CJI?
I believe so. I believe it does, because there's always going to be that caveat there. If you're looking at there's like, that's the top. Who have we already seen announced? Joseph Chen, Nicky Ryan, that would be in 77. And one of the Tackett brothers would be in 77. So that's already 3 of...
77's like, falling apart.
It is. Who are they going to bring in to replace? It's like, I mean, there's other guys in there, the guys that are the second and third places at trials must be at least rubbing their hands together, because it gives them a shot then at the 77 bracket. But it's always going to have that. It's all gone.
I was gonna say, but like, to some degree, like, yes, I agree. If the athletes that are the best in the world aren't in that division, that you could put whatever an asterisk next to that year. Okay, well, that was the year Craig Jones came out with CJI and you didn't fight the best. But at the same time, it's like, well, those athletes chose prestige over cash. They chose legacy over cash. If an athlete wins CJI, we don't know the brackets. We don't know what CJI brackets are going to look like right now as we record this episode. But in the next couple of weeks, those brackets will fill up and we will see who's going to be in there. Could we not say that, well, those athletes who jumped ship to CJI, they chose cash and potentially jumped into a division that maybe, I don't want to say wasn't as talented, but the best in the world were not established in those divisions. So could we say, based on their decision to choose cash over prestige, that they didn't, I don't want to say deserve, but it wasn't in their destiny to win ADCC that year anyways, because they just didn't want it enough? Is there any weight to that assumption? The ones that stayed at ADCC chose to stay there because they want legacy. They want to be legends. It's one of their dreams. This is their opportunity to win the biggest tournament in the world. So their dedication to winning that title could be argued as greater than those who jump ship for $1 million.
You could say that. And I just put the question back to you, and how many people in that bracket, how many people do you think wouldn't jump ship, would stay for the prestige of winning an ADCC gold? Is the prestige of winning an ADCC gold greater than the possibility of a life-changing lump sum of money? I'd have to say with me,
it's a crazy question, eh? Yeah.
Well, yeah, but say with me, I would be like, if I got put this question in 2000, if you got put this question in 2019, I'd be like, okay, do I like? I think most people would want a shot at $1 million. I just don't see that's okay. So winning ADCC gold, you're a legend. You've got your name you're a legend for at least the rest of your jiu-jitsu career. That's always going to be next to your name, ADCC champion. But what is it that ADCC championship brings you? Well, it brings you the ability to earn money. It brings you people will come and want to learn from you. People will, you have that kind of respect when you walk into a room of people like, okay, an ADCC champion here. But it's not going to bring you $1 million. Well,
no,
it might bring you $1 million.
In most cases, it won't bring you $1 million.
Yeah.
Unless you can make instructionals like Gordon and you're that good. It's just not really possible. Let me ask you, Ben Dyson, you are going to ADCC Worlds, but you've also been invited to CJI. Would you leave the ADCC to go for the $1 million?
I would.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think a lot of people would. And I can't blame you at all, because $1 million is quite a bit. Would you rather be a millionaire today or be a legend forever? That's what we're looking at here, really, right?
It is. Oh my God.
It's tough, right? Like
it is tough.
It's really tough, I mean, keep in mind, the Tackett brothers, let's be honest, these guys, they could win trials again and go compete at ADCC again. You know what I mean? So they're so young that it kind of makes sense. Yeah. If it was me and I was at ADCC at 36 years old, I'd be like, I'm not coming back here again. This is my shot, right? So, but also, do you get another shot at just winning a $1 million prize? Mm-hmm. So what would you pick? Exactly. $1 million, $1 million today, or you're a legend forever?
Oh God. If I had
this is where ego really comes into play. You know what I mean?
It is. I'm going to say $1 million would be kind of nice though. And I mean, if I had to pick one, okay, let's say, makes me sound like you're egotistical or you're a money grabber. I don't know which one it is.
No judgment, because it.
Yeah. I mean,
almost everyone I've talked to has been in some way, shape, or form on both sides of the fence. Very few people.
That's where I am.
Yeah, me too. I was actually hoping that we could both be conflicting in argument in this podcast and kind of disagree more with each other, but it's just not the case, right? Okay. Only a few people I've talked to have been hard on one side, hard on the other side. I can see both sides. Yeah. But back to the question, what would you choose?
Okay, I'm taking the $1 million. I'm taking $1 million.
Yeah. there is prestige in winning $1 million. There is.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
There is. I won the bracket that everybody wanted to win because it came with $1 million. Oh yeah. There's prestige in that.
And there were some of the best in the world that were, there. So you can't argue that you didn't fight,
of course,
some of the best in the world.
And arguably it's more prestigious because there's only 2 brackets.
Yeah, and it seems like this play is kind of out of spite from Craig. It's like he's
Yeah.
spitefully doing this against Mo. Do you think that this is kind of the best way to go about it, or do you think that it could have maybe been done in a different way while still holding the same weight in terms of changing the industry standard for fighter pay? You think it had to be done this way?
No, I agree with what you said before. I think it could have been done in a different way. And I would hope for the fans it could have been done in a different way. Maybe like, like threaten the date. I don't know, contact ADCC. I'm sure they would change their approach to the once they saw the weight of what he's trying to plan, because they must be scrabbling now and be a bit worried, to be honest, because of what's happening on the same day. If you look, I spent some time in kind of preparation for this, going through and reading the comments as to, the people that all I see is like, oh, God, my ADCC tickets are worthless now. God, what am I going to do? I wish it could have been gone about in a different way, purely for the fans' perspective.
Yeah. The fans
and also
probably would have gone and supported that tournament as well if it was like,
of course,
the day before or, the day after, but then you'd probably get athletes double dipping. And I think that's what Craig's intention was. I assume out of this spiteful decision is he didn't want athletes double dipping, doing ADCC and winning $1 million. He wanted them to be in a dilemma where they have to choose, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. And this brings me to what I was like, what kind of like the main point that I've considered in counter to this whole CJI, which is obviously the growth of how ADCC, the organization, has grown the sport to a point where now, okay, you've got somebody that's willing to front up $1 million. Whoever knows where it came from, it doesn't matter. The money's on the table. You've got somebody that's willing to do that. But why are they willing to do that? What's happened for them to be willing to do that? Well, ADCC, single-handedly, but almost has grown the sport of grappling. Okay, they've grown the sport of grappling from where okay, you're looking at when the events were held in Abu Dhabi, but then in the early 2010s in China and in Brazil, you're looking at a handful of people in the arenas. Okay, you're looking at empty seats in most places and like real budget sponsors. I'm sure the cost of putting on those tournaments would have been far greater than, because remember, they're flying everybody in, they're putting everybody up, and they're still playing the prize money. So, I know now ADCC is like almost this like mainstream brand. Okay, and it's difficult to not look past, like with the Opens, with these mainstream sponsors that you're seeing for ADCC, because let's be real, they've got Joe Rogan Experience and things like that. They're like mainstream sponsors. They must be some serious sponsorship checks. So yes, the error is on ADCC for not updating that fighter pay. You got to think as well. I was discussing this yesterday. If they had just gone, okay, 25 grand for the winner, and I don't know, 50 grand or 60 grand for the absolute, this probably wouldn't happen, would it?
Do you think that? Because $1 million is a hell of a lot more than 20 grand.
I know, but I think this was just a joke that he was started off with, right? I feel like Craig started this off as one big joke. I saw videos of him joking that the drummers got paid more than the winners of each bracket, right?
Yeah.
So
which is probably true.
If ADCC had come out and been like, look, we're gonna more than double each of the persons for the divisions, I don't think there'd be a CGI, to be honest. But as I said, it's hard for me not to feel that way about ADCC because they built it for what it is now.
Yeah, whether you prefer gi or no gi, I have a couple of friends who are more on the gi train, and they don't even like watching ADCC. They kind of discredit it, but ADCC has done so much for jiu-jitsu and the growth of jiu-jitsu over the last little bit here. I also wonder, okay, let's say ADCC, they saw what Craig was doing and they're like, okay, we'll double the winning or triple it. We'll double or triple the purse or whatever. At what point and considering Craig is like, well, I'll still give you $1 million. At what point do you say, okay, this is the purse that is acceptable for, an ADCC champion in modern times? Like, what is that? What do you think the athletes should make if they win an ADC division? Like, what do you think is fair and sustainable? What do you think they should
Well, this
make?
is the problem. This is the problem now with such a big, so first of all, answer to your question, what do I think they should make? Well, they need to look at, ADCC need to, okay, we want to behave like a big company, right? Okay, big companies, you see the revenue that comes in, and then the athletes should get a proportion of the revenue coming in as prize money. That's the only fair way to do it. And if you look at all the professional sports leagues, which is what Jiu-Jitsu wants to be, right? ADCC should be looking like, okay, we need to behave like a professional sports league. We want to be mainstream. Let's behave like we're, like we should. Not, okay, so as that revenue comes in, as the sponsorship checks get bigger, as the more participants in the opens that they put on because of the main events getting bigger, okay, we should have updated. We should be, giving our athletes as a prize a fair percentage of the revenue that we are generating. That's the only answer to the question, in my opinion, because that's a professional outfit.
Mo Jassim stated, Craig Jones is doing this just to counter-program us or out of spite, and those aren't legitimate reasons to do anything at all. I agree it's out of spite, but I think the legitimate reason is to advocate for the athletes, right? To be, there is no fighters union, grapplers, jiu-jitsu union, anything like that. There's no real way for an athlete to be an advocate for fighter pay in ADCC because everyone wants to win ADCC so bad. But even if you win 10 grand, I mean, for some, if you're absolutely poor, that could be really big. But for most, I would say that's probably not, life-changing money. So do you think it's possible, given we don't know the intricacies of ADCC's business model. We don't know what the revenue is that they take in. We don't know what everyone gets paid. But do you think that it would be, just from looking at it from a spectator, competitor, or whatever, do you think it's possible for Mo to pay athletes money to show and, to have bigger purses? Because he goes on about how he's not making really a lot of money. I think he's claimed that it costs him money to run ADCC. So do you think it's possible for him to pay athletes and he's just choosing not to?
I think now I don't see how the tournament, with the amount of tournaments and opens that they're running and things like that, they can't be doing that for the love of the game. I'm sorry. So that ADCC, all those opens and things like that, they're putting on nearly one a month, one every 2 months now, right? Mm-hmm. And they're selling out, right? So that in itself is money that's coming in now. With regards to sponsorships and things like that, again, one point that I wanted to make with this whole feud, not feud, it's CJI or ADCC, is flow grappling, right? So what are flow grappling putting into the mix? Because the rights to ADCC and the viewership should be bringing in a decent amount of money, right? You got to think that, okay, if they're selling out a 20,000 person arena, how many people are watching it at home? Mm-hmm. Okay. And how much of that money that's going back into from flow grappling, how much of that money is going back into jiu-jitsu? With regards to, that's what I would say. As I say, I don't know ADCC's business model. I can only speculate. I don't have too much of an idea about that, but I don't see, if you're building it up to what it is now, I don't see how and why you would run it at a loss when all of that money must be coming in. Sponsorships, who knows what Flow are paying? How much do you think Flow pay for the rights to ADCC, if you had to guess?
I mean, I have no idea. I don't think, I really have no idea. I don't see Flow as having tons of excessive money. You know what I mean? I really couldn't even guess. I I think I'd sound super ignorant if I gave an answer to that. It can't be a lot though, because jiu-jitsu is so niche.
Do you think? But if you're selling out an arena, right? So there's like, we've gone from having, I went to ADCC 2011 in Nottingham, and I stood in the stands, and there couldn't have been more than kind of 2,000 people there in the stands. Mm-hmm. Both days I was there, all days. And now it's like, so that's 10 times growth from that time. All right. So even if like the amount of eyes on it, I mean, yeah, again, so like how many people were watching it, would have been watching it. Yeah, it is. I wouldn't like to speculate as to how much that contract's worth.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of, we don't really know the money that's being exchanged, like, but I think one thing's for sure, you should get paid to show at ADCC. Like, I think if you're there and you won trials, you know, it should be a trip paid. Yeah. You go there and you should get something even if you don't win. You know, the fact that there is no show money, I think is kind of crazy. Like you said, if we're going to treat it like a professional sport, I think that's something that they need to change. And if after this, even whatever money it is, if there is show money now for athletes just because of what Craig has done, then you could argue that it was a successful campaign and that it kind of served the purpose that it, you know, that it was set out to, and that is to advocate for athlete pay. But how do we know that that's going to be enough? Like, that'll be another discussion, as people will say, okay, well, I get $5,000 to show to go compete at ADCC. Like, that's not enough. Like, some people won't be happy with that at all. $10,000, again, people probably won't be happy with that at all. Who knows how much is enough? The pro athletes want to get paid like pro athletes, which is completely fair, but you know, jiu-jitsu is different from NBA or NFL or NHL. So it's, how do we know
we're not a spectator sport?
Yeah, how do we know what they should be getting paid? But I do think the $10,000 to win that's like shockingly low. Like, it should be 4 or 5 times that at least. I would say even IBJJF has been giving out purses that are like $40,000, $50,000 to win like a Grand Prix or something. Do you think Mo is guilty of favoritism because he's so close with Gordon? He's good friends with Gordon, and essentially the team from New Wave, like, he's really in with those guys. And this whole CJI versus ADCC thing has kind of split into two camps. Like, CJI is very heavily full of New Wave, B team competitors. Obviously, it's Craig Jones, right? And then ADCC, like, I don't know if we're going to see any New Wave guys go over to CJI. I don't know if that's going to be a thing. I don't know if that would be acceptable to that team in the training room. You know what I mean? It's like, no, we're here to support ADCC. Our goal is to win ADCC. You know, like, let's say like Oliver Tazo wanted to go do CJI. He would probably, they'd probably be like, no, you're not fucking doing that. Like, you're going to win, you know, which I understand. So, like, do you think Mo shows favoritism to guys like Gordon, like, in terms of pay, while he's not paying the other athletes?
I would say we don't know what, like, financially the relationship between Mo is between Mo and like athletes like Gordon. But like in other ways, you can certainly see that favoritism. I see it. I mean, I saw it before. I've seen it with my own eyes. Like, you do kind of see that with a little bit with the ADCC and the brass there. But you know, I mean, I'm sure that, again, other professional organizations, they like their stars, and they probably show favoritism to their stars. And Gordon and those guys, they are the stars of our sport. So I don't think maybe Mo's guilty of that. I feel like, you know, like, why shouldn't he be? Like, why shouldn't Gordon be one of his favorites if he's bringing and putting people's butts on seats, you know?
Totally fair. I was actually talking with a buddy today. They said that, so apparently CJI will be on the Saturday, which would be ADCC day 1, and then the finals and the absolute fight would be on the Sunday. It would be so awesome if, like, let's say Gordon, he's like, okay, I won't do my division this year. I'll still do the super fight. And then he goes and wins CGI. And then he goes back and wins his super fight as well. That'd be fucking hilarious.
Yeah. It would be. And as I say, you wouldn't.
I wonder
go on.
Like, I wonder if he got an invite to CGI or, Big Dan, Mirigali. Like, I don't know. Are these guys getting the invite to go to that tournament as well?
That would really like open things up, wouldn't it? I hope Craig exposes who was invited and who wasn't. That would be fantastic. But I don't think he's going to do that I think I saw something of his on Instagram say, okay, don't worry, I won't expose, your names and things like that.
Mm-hmm. So I also had another hypothetical outcome of this situation.
Uh-huh.
What if, as the weeks go on, we see all the top guys from ADCC go and jump over to CGI. And then you're basically looking at like a very emaciated roster of ADCC athletes. They have to pull athletes who are in, that weren't really they're world level, but they weren't expected to go to ADCC, but now they're just trying to fill the spaces, right? What if Mo is like, you know what? All you guys are ungrateful fucks. I'm not doing this anymore. It's done. Like, okay, we're not going to do ADCC anymore. And then Craig Jones now is the guy who killed ADCC. Like that wouldn't be good for the fans. That wouldn't be good for the athletes, right? Like that is something I know Mo had said. I think I read today. He said, no matter what happens, ADCC is still moving forward, regardless of who goes or whatever. Yeah. Like, what if something like that were to occur?
I mean, then that is the only people that suffer is the fans and the spectators, right? I mean, and as I say, ADCC, you kind of, and I sympathize with them. Although, again, I feel like they should have updated the prize money and whatnot. I do sympathize. They built it, as I said before, they built it. But yeah, I mean, if Mo was to say, no more ADCC, that's it. Craig, off to you. It's up to you now.
Keys are yours now. Have fun.
Exactly, right? Yeah, that would be bad.
So, I think we can all agree
ADCC
that
for me,
that would be a bad outcome, right? Like even for the athletes, that would actually backfire. Not having like
massively
the Olympics of our sport, as it's coined, even though the Olympics athletes like make dog shit money anyways. Like a lot of these,
don't get paid.
It's very similar to the Olympics in that a lot of athletes will dedicate their whole professional career to making that event and winning that event. But yet, even if you do win a gold medal in the Olympics, it's like a lot of these gold medalists still need to go work at at a hardware store or something. They still need to have a job.
Exactly.
Only like like a Michael Phelps kind of guy who's won tons of gold medals might have sponsorships and have a way to make a sustainable living. But like ADCC is the same thing. A lot of these guys can win ADCC and they can't sell a shitload of instructionals or, you know what I mean? It's it's not necessary. It doesn't set you up for life the way $1 million would.
Yeah. Look at you, like Yuri Samoy's absolute champ. All right, I'd say you don't really hear too much. Obviously, Yuri's he's a beast, got a great competition record, and but I'm not sure how. Like I say, I can't see him. I don't know if he sells too many instructionals, or you don't see him doing seminars that often. Like you got to wonder with, he just won pretty much the biggest prize in the sport. The ADCC absolute champion gets him into the super fight with Gordon next time, right? So you've got to think that, so there are people, you're absolutely right, that reach the pinnacle and then they're not making the money that they need in order to, if you've reached the pinnacle of the sport and you've won the biggest prize in the sport, you'd at least expect to have, the financial burden lifted.
Mm-hmm. What if Yuri got invited to CGI and he's like, yeah, actually, I'm not going to do the super fight. I'm just going to go and I'm going to do CGI instead. What kind of a monkey wrench would that throw into ADCC?
You got to think that things like that are coming. I can't see how the allure of that money, and like Craig's obviously got this well thought out. How many people before he decided to do this did he contact hypothetically, all right, look, this is in the like possible, this is a possibility in the future. Would you be into this? Like, no, like I'm not recording any answers or anything like that. How many people are on that list already? Because I know he's releasing people, like, you know, like the ADCC do. They release people on the Instagram, and you know, who else is already lined up? That's what we can only. And it's interesting. It's interesting. It's going to be. It really is. It's drama. It is. You know. It's.
That's why I wanted to do this podcast, because it's unfolding in front of us. We're kind of in its infancy. Like, there's still many weeks to go before ADCC, but it will creep up quite quickly. And as they're releasing these competitors for CJI, now Mo has to scramble and fill these slots. I mean, I'm pretty sure anyone would, you know, who didn't make ADCC would jump at the opportunity to do so. But yeah, it's dramatic.
100%. 100%. Like anyone, like I haven't competed for 13, 14 months. I get offered to go to ADCC, I'm going straight away, you know? It's like, hey, why wouldn't you? It's, you know, it's still the best. It's just, you know, ADCC, I think, has to, you know, they got to kind of shrug this off, kind of weather the storm with this and rise above it, learn from their mistakes, I think. And then, you know, they'll still be the premier organization if they play their cards right. They just got to kind of learn from their mistakes, I think.
Okay. So let's talk about like post ADCC. So in terms of maintaining their level of respect and being, you know, still being the premier grappling event in no-gi grappling anyways, like what does ADCC need to do moving forward to sort of maintain that prestige, to maintain legitimacy? Even if Craig is going to do, let's say Craig does this every year, you know, same day, like that's fucked up.
Waits for ADCC to release the dates, and then a week later books the arena next to it. Like,
so for sure. What does ADCC need to do to maintain that status, you know, with Craig Jones going around and throwing monkey wrenches and everything?
I mean, yeah, Craig, ADCC, in order to remain the best, they have to obviously put this kind of issue to bed. I think, take a look at, you know, like why this has happened. The sole reason why this has happened is the fact that they've banked on the prestige of winning ADCC is to be enough for all the athletes and the competitors. That's enough. The 10 grand's enough. Well, now we can see that, you know, it's not, and it needs to be updated. I think that's the biggest takeaway. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't like to be part of the the ADCC brass now. I'd be worried.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think show money is necessary. And in terms of pay, it also wouldn't look good if Mo was like, okay, now if you win ADCC, we're going to give you $100,000. People will be like, where was all that money before? Like, before you're giving us 10.
That's it.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's a tricky scenario, and I don't know how
it's a bad look.
It is a bad look. So he has to entice these athletes enough to want to come back and to keep, kind of save face, right? To be like a professional organization. Craig has kind of like lifted the veil and shown everyone how little they're making. And now I don't know how he's going to navigate forward, trying to retain competitors and at the same time giving them a respectable wage, but also a wage that's like, that doesn't make people question them. Like, okay, why didn't you pay before? If you could pay a winning fighter $100,000, you know, where was that before? And Craig does bring up an interesting thing about the drummers, right? He's talking about like pyrotechnics and the drummers. And you could argue that that production value makes the show, like it obviously enhances the show and could make it more mainstream, but are those really where the resources should be going, right?
No. I think as well, this is what I think the ADCC need to do. And obviously this is me, I'm a complete white belt in business, but like maybe being more open with the finances would be a good way to go. So then that would, I think, would get the kind of fans behind. Okay, they can see, okay, this amount's coming in sponsorship. These guys paid this, Flow pay this. This percentage is going back to the athletes. Okay, then there's no then there's no there's no questions. Nobody would question the this amount, okay, is profit. This amount is a fair amount from our from what we're bringing in, being put back into the athletes and to the sport.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Any other points you want to talk about? I think we've discussed it pretty thoroughly. Is there any?
I think.
Yeah.
No. I think we've done a good job going through that. I've said everything I wanted to say. Like, as I said, it does make me a little bit. For me, like, the ADCC was always my goal, and it was always the pinnacle of the sport. And I'd hate to see the prestige of it devalued, because it's always been there. They were here before anybody else. They were making like waves in grappling and making people, do grappling tournaments before it was cool. So I feel like that deserves and warrants respect. But then again, you can't, with money on the table, what can you say?
Yeah.
That's the dilemma that we've. it's a fair dilemma. So, I think we've said everything, Matt.
What's your favorite food, Ben?
Whoa, I'd have to say sushi.
What kind?
I love these big rolls, the big fancy sushi rolls. Just love them. Like, get as many things in there, like loads of sauces, like loads of colors on the plate. I love that. I love that shit.
You're into the raw stuff as well?
Yeah, I like sashimi, yeah, for sure.
Nice. What's your biggest fear?
Being stranded at sea in shark-infested water.
Would you
pretty specific?
Would you rather be eaten by a shark or burned alive?
Fuck. How long does it take to burn alive?
I imagine you'd be conscious probably for a minute at least, if not a couple minutes.
That's going to be excruciating pain for a minute. Shark you wouldn't see coming. It's going to bite your leg off, and then, I don't know, then you're going to bleed out. Maybe more sharks are going to come, take a bit of you. I'll go with burn alive.
Yeah, that's fucking tough. What's your favorite part about jiu-jitsu?
Favorite part about jiu-jitsu is two things. For me personally, it's the way that it makes me feel every day, clears my head, and I just enjoy the training so much. Secondly, it's like what I see it do for other people, especially as a coach and things like that, seeing how people can progress in everything and, become fitter, become kind of like their characters kind of become stronger and, things like that. And that's really great to see, and how it can like help and lift people up. That's my favorite things about jiu-jitsu.
I think I know your answer to this question. What's your least favorite part?
Being injured.
That's it. That's the only one.
Yeah. Walking around like struggling to sit on the toilet. Fuck.
You had mentioned it was your knees, right?
Yeah, it's my knees.
Me too.
But your words to say, it's where would you rather be? I'd rather kind of hobble around a little bit, and I can still grapple fine. I just walk around a bit decrepit all day.
Mm-hmm. What about like being a gym owner? What is a piece of advice that you would have for somebody else looking to get into owning a martial arts academy?
Be ready to not improve as fast in your own game or at all. Be ready for that. It's difficult once you we all want to improve personally, but you can't, say for example, I can't be, you've got to be putting the students first. Okay. And yes, of course you can still develop and train in your own time, and you should, but it's not the same as being a being somebody that, okay, maybe you work for a living, but then you're going into the gym, you're going and seeking out the best training, and developing yourself. And all your goal is to do when you step into the gym is to develop yourself. Whereas, we know as gym and academy owners, that's not our goal. We want to get better, yes, but we want our students to improve, and that's the only way, I think.
What's your least favorite part about running an academy? Maybe you can't even say here.
I can't. No, I mean, honestly, me opening a gym has been the best thing that I ever did. It came at the right time. I did it at the right time, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the coaching aspect now. I love seeing the kind of community and everything like that build. So yeah, I don't have anything negative to say, and that's being honest. I don't have anything negative to say about owning a gym. Only the fact that it's not negative. It's just the priority shift.
Mm-hmm. Man, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Ben. I'll give you the floor. You can let people know where to find you.
Yeah, sweet. So, Kuzushi Grappling, downtown Vancouver. Come check us out at Kuzushi Grappling, or KuzushiGrappling.com. Come through and come train with us. Matt, thank you so much for having me on. It's been great discussing it with you. No doubt. Yeah. I'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon, brother. Thank you so much. Guys, before we go, please like, share, subscribe. Leave a view for the show if you like it. Leave comments where you can. It really helps the algorithm. It helps me grow the show. If you want to support the show, there's links in the bottom. Ben Dyson, thank you so much for being on the show, brother.
Mate, thank you. Cheers, man.
All right. Remember, Everyday Jiu Jitsu Podcast. It's everything you need to know about Jiu Jitsu. See you later, guys.